It's time for Next Step Monday as we look back on this past Sunday's sermon and jumpstart our week with a few thoughts. Here's Pastor Dave Pack.
It's good to be with you, Fremont family. On this Next Step Mondays, we look back to Genesis 4, 1 through 16. The big idea we saw was this. Now that humans have been removed from Eden, sin lurks as a predator seeking to devour and destroy. As Cain and Abel's story is sad in many ways. The root of the issue here is the envy that's dwelling in Cain's heart. The sin dwells in the heart before it reaches the hands, and then finally he's hardened by it. Let's just talk about envy. It's one of those things that we kind of just accept. It's one of those quote unquote small sins. But boy, it can wreak so much havoc. And we can have the temptation to fight envy, with our own willpower. Then we can really get in this really just feeling guilty, because of how we feel towards someone else. It's going to seem like off topic, but I'll trust we'll see how it will connect. I want to actually go to Revelation. And Revelation, in the time, the believers were being persecuted, at the end of the first century, and God's strategy, his wise design, was to give the church this apocalyptic vision of things as they really were. In other words, it was to see Christ in his glory, in his power, reigning and ruling, and that was meant to pervade their reality in the moment, which was persecution. As we fight envy, we're not going to root envy out of our hearts by sheer willpower or picking ourselves up by the bootstraps. Instead, the remedy to envy or any sin is to really get a clear vision of who Christ is. It's because envy, at the root of envy, is we feel in the moment that we have to have this thing in our heart. We have to have this gift. We have to be better than this person. Or we feel threatened by someone. And instead, the remedy to that is, no, we need to have a greater love, a greater affection prevail upon our heart, which is Christ, to the point that the thing that we were previously envious about, it just no longer appeals. It seems so small and so significant. So I think to root out envy in a gospel-centered way is to have a big view of Christ, to see his sufficiency, and then this thing that seemed so important, it no longer is. We don't have to feel bad that we don't have every gift in the world and other people have gifts and abilities that we don't have. We were never meant to have every gift. When we see Christ for who he is, we see the sufficiency of the gospel, suddenly we can more easily be happy for people and their gifts. We don't see them as a threat. We don't have to compare ourselves. We trust that the Spirit sovereignly gives gifts as he wills, and we can rejoice in other people's gifts rather than feel threatened by them. So I would encourage you this week, spend some time just reflecting on the greatness of Christ, the sufficiency of Christ, and let that vision replace any envy that may have previously been in your heart. I'll be praying for you and for myself as we work through this together this week.